if without knowing very much about Africa, they go into the African agriculture, it's not an easy task. So I need to caution them. The agriculture is not just short-term task.
KRice, or more specifically, the KRiceBelt project, is Korea's ambitious plan to enhance productivity and farming technology of rice in Africa. It's an approach that emphasizes the transfer of knowledge and technology, not one-time aid. But over half a century ago, the same approach was taken by a young Korean scientist, Hahn Sang-ki, who staked his career in developing a high-yield and disease-resistant type of cassava, a major food source in Africa, and nurtured an entire generation of scientists that are spearheading the continent's fight against famine. Our globalist today is Dr. Hahn Sang-ki, who at a young age of 90 has just published a new book, The Most Precious Legacy is Crop. We talk about the life and legacy of one Korean who's had an immeasurable impact on the livelihood of an entire continent. Dr. Hahn, welcome to the Globalists.
Thank you. I'm quite honored.
It is our honor. I've seen your book, the one that you just recently published. The title is called The Legacy is the Crop. It's an autobiography of you. You say the legacy is the crop. Does that mean your legacy is the crop?
I'm a simple plant breeders who worked on cassava, which is one of the root crops, which is grown primarily in Africa. Mm-hmm. That crop is so important, but has been neglected by the former colonial countries, such as England and France and Portugal. So when I joined the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, there was virtually no researches carried out before. So I had to more or less pioneer to work on the crops.
So what did you do to the cassava to make it the super cassava?
Cassava has been major food crop in Nigeria and in Africa, but it had a very severe disease problems. One is the cassava mosaic disease, which is virus, and the other one is bacterial blight disease. The two diseases cause severe damage to cassava. So my major task was to improve cassava for resistance to those major diseases of cassava. And then I found out that cassava is native to Brazil. So I went to Brazil in 1972. I spent some time to discuss with young cassava, and I had brought some seeds of cassava and the relative species of cassava from Brazil. And then I used the selected one to cross with Nigerian native cassava varieties. So that means two cultivated species and wild species been crossed to produce proteins. But I've been lucky because one source of wild species gave me the resistance to both diseases.
So in the process,
I'm very lucky scientist.
I'm sure there's more than luck, but when did you actually finally get this final result of this?
I started to work on cassava in 1971, and then I should say before that, in 1974, in the Nigerian, the daily times, in the front line, it was said the world is facing famine due to a disease problem in Cassava.
Yeah.
That was the
1974.
1974. So in 1976, there was another newspaper on the front line, more gari for you, which means gari is a processed cassava. So they gave a hope that they could have more cassava. So that was the, in 2 years' time, quite dramatic improvement which I made.
Let's go back to 1971.
Yes.
When you went to Nigeria. In 1971, before you went, you were a young professor at Seoul National University, doing very well, and I was told you had a choice of going to Nigeria or going to the Cambridge University in the UK.
That's right.
And you chose Nigeria. Why?
So I went to first to see what's going on in the international tropic agriculture, which was initially built at that time. And then I saw the huge developments. And then the task which was given to me was the corn, cassava, and other root crops, which is a staple to the farmers. That 1971, most of developing countries had severe food problems, not only Africa, but also even in Korea. So I thought that I have a better chance for me to use my knowledge and training to work for poor African peoples. So that's made me a good choice to decide to go to Nigeria instead of to Cambridge.
But Nigeria and the UK are so wide apart in terms of their background. Did you think that you could make this kind of difference as you left for Nigeria?
That time, Nigeria went through a very severe civil war,
Yes.
which is called Biafra War. It was not easy for me to decide because I have to go with my family and children. To make that decision is not easy decisions. But I believe once I decided, I have to finish it. So that kind of a spirit of mine sustained me to continue to work. I still believe that that decision was quite very good to me.
Yeah. But while you were there in 1971 from Nigeria, after a major civil war, conditions must have been very difficult.
Yes, not only the life, but that time the road was destroyed during the war. And we had to take a malaria pill because it's a local disease. We have to take malaria pill every day to prevent malaria. And then our children had malaria.
Oh, your
and
children
my wife
got malaria.
also, I also had malaria. But we were able to treat them with medicines. So it was okay. Another problem which I faced in Nigeria was to educate children. I left one and then home, and I brought 3 children with us. And then to educate the children was very difficult. So I dropped the eldest one to middle school, the other one to primary. So I left the 2 children to primary school. Among those Nigerian, it was very hard for me.
Yeah.
But they were able to quickly adapt to the conditions, so I was very happy.
When we were talking about your family, your children, growing up in Africa, you smiled and saying, although it was difficult, they did very well. How did your family fare?
After the high school, I had to send them to US and one to the London. So that's just how I educated our children. So one day I went to Colombia. My wife is Nigeria. My eldest daughter in Korea. My eldest son is up in New York.
Wow.
My second boy is in the Connecticut. My youngest daughter is in London. So we all spread. So it's a hard life for me and fatherly for them.
Yeah. For your family, it must have been a very difficult process.
Yes.
Were there times when you felt, I'm going to give all this up. I'm going to pack up my family and go back to Korea?
I have never thought of it.
Really?
Because once I decided I have to finish it. And I had that kind of spirit. So when I went to Nigeria to join the International Tropical Agriculture, I had tremendous burden to me, but I had to overcome it through my decision that once I made decision, I have to finish it.
So you made the decision that Cassava is going to be something that you were going to make better.
I have to finish it. I have to do something.
Now, you say that there was no time when you felt like, all right, I'm going to give all this up. But do you remember when you felt like, okay, I'm making a difference?
Well, yes. Since I joined International Tropical Agriculture Ibadan, Nigeria, I had firm decisions that I have to contribute something for the development of Africa and for particularly for food security for African people. Particularly, cassava is woman's crop.
Why is that a woman's crop?
Because that woman grows, woman plant it, woman harvest them, woman process it, woman market them, women feed family, women feed children. So I had a meeting and I had a visit of James Grant, the UNICEF, the representative director, who wanted to cooperate with us on the cassava because cassava is a so important crop to the ladies. So that was what James Grant wanted to cooperate with us on cassava.
And did you?
Yeah, I think that we did cooperate sometimes, particularly with the UNICEF.
So it is for the people to really survive.
Yes.
I also hear, okay, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this correctly, but you have a title, Seriki Agbe. It's the king of farmers.
That's right.
It is the first title, traditional chieftain title, given to a Korean by the Oba of Ikire of Nigeria.
Yes. As I said, I have produced cassava varieties, which is high-yielding and resistant to major disease. That cassava variety was given to many farmers in Nigeria. So some farmers who grew my improved cassava varieties appreciated my work on cassava. And then 2-3 chiefs came to visit with me in my office, and they proposed that I should be made chief. So I was quite hesitant initially, but I thought that would be a good opportunity for me to promote my cassava variety to the many farmers, because Nigerians, they respect chief. So I decided, yes, I accept it. So I was ordained to the chief of Ikire by the Oba. Oba is a traditional king of that city.
So it's Ikide, it's the king of Ikide.
That's right.
So after you became chief, were you able to get more of this improved cassava into the farms?
Yes, chief's word has weight. Yeah.
The chief Serike Agbe's word had weight.
Yeah.
That must have been one of your more pleasant memories
Yes,
of Nigeria.
I'm very much appreciative and then very much honored.
Our program is broadcast around the world. People that remember Chief may see this. Would you have anything to say to them, your old friends back in Nigeria?
Since I left Nigeria, I always thought of the communities of Ikire who gave me chieftain's titles. Since I didn't do very much for the community, I feel very sorry to the community. I wish I could do something if the chance are given.
No. We'll see if one of our viewers is from your community. So tell us a little bit more about you. So you started studying agriculture in 1953, which was like the end of the Korean War.
That's right.
Why did you want to study agriculture?
I was grown up in a rural village where we used to have very frequent floodings. So the farmers there had a severe damage, which they planted crops in the field after the flooding. They suffered so much, and they went through hunger also. I think that helped me to make a decision to go to the area of agriculture instead of some others. In the middle school, the teachers told me about very famous Dr. Wu Jang-chun.
Wu Jang-chun.
Yeah, and then who is world famous plant breeders. After I heard that one, oh, that's just wonderful. So this is one which made me decide to go to the College of Agriculture of Seoul National University instead of others. I'm quite happy to make that decision.
And so was following Dr. Wu, a reason why you went to Nigeria as well?
Yeah, I did more similar things which Dr. Wu did, because I produced the varieties through interspecies crosses. That means cultivate cassava with the wild cassava. The same approach as Dr. Wu.
Yeah.
And then also I produced the tetraploid cassava, which is chromosome doubled, which gave a much better, So I was able to manipulate the ploidy of cassava. It was quite lucky. I'm quite lucky scientist.
Yeah.
Now, Nigeria is the largest cassava producing country in the world.
Yes, I heard that.
That's my contributions.
It is remarkable the way that you did. So is that what you were thinking of when you went to Nigeria instead of the UK in 1971? Do you think, okay, I achieved what I wanted to do? Do you think so?
Yeah, that's what my determinations. But I should do something for the African peoples. What I like to say, in addition to that one, is that I not only did the researches to develop disease and yielding cassava varieties, but I trained lots of African scientists. I think I trained about 700 African who brought to the institutions, and they had short-term trainings. They went back to their countries. After that, some of the trainees who went home They did very well. I brought them back again to the institution for further training for master or PhD.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your teachings were not just for the people of Nigeria, but you sent
other countries
all around
That's
Africa.
Right. I am happy to be help the African scientists.
Yeah. Do any of your students, do they contact you ever?
Some of them.
Some of them?
Yeah.
What do some of them do?
The PhD students who came from Tanzania, they joined the what's that? The Bill Gates.
Melinda Gates
programs.
Foundation,
Yeah.
yes.
So she did very well there, and then she came back again to Africa. She's continuing the work.
So your legacy lives on. Korea now, Korea is now trying to deal with famine in Africa. And they just started this initiative called the KRiceBelt. So they're focusing on rice production, not cassava, and we're trying to transfer knowledge and technology to Africa. What do you think?
I would caution them because there are over 10,000 foreign aid projects in Africa. Most of them failed. So although I would support the idea, but we need cautions because we need to understand the African situations. If without knowing very much about Africa, they go into the African agriculture, it's not an easy task. So I need to caution them.
You are encouraging their effort, but also cautioning them at the same time.
Please be cautious. The reason I have been successful with my work on cassava is that I had a continuous support by the institution and by many donors. Just go into Africa for 2-3 years. That's one here and there. I think it cannot be achievable. So what I should say is that if one's decided to go to Africa, you have to make a decision to go that project for many, many years, not for 3 years, 2 years, 5 years project. We have to that determination to help the Africa, because otherwise don't go to Africa.
So if you are not willing to go to Africa for 23 years, it's a difficult thing to resolve the problem?
If I didn't work on for 20 years, I don't think I could achieve that much. So I'm very lucky in that sense to have a help from many donors.
Well, you say you're lucky, but there are not that many people that are right now, even among a younger generation in Korea, that are looking to do this long-term stay and research in Africa. It's not easy to find people.
Not easy things. The agriculture is not just short-term task. It needs lots of time, lots of effort, lots of resources. Not just 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It cannot make any differences. It's not small business. It's just very, very difficult area.
Yeah. Well, we are very lucky that you made that long-term investment, I think.
That's right. Thank you.
I think so. And that's it for me this week. Next week, I'll be back with another globalist who is putting Korea on the map. Son Ji-ae out.